So Pete Hegseth, the dear leader of the Department of War, has thrown Admiral Bradely overboard, essentially saying it's all his fault that the two survivors were killed in the strike on September 2nd on the fisherman boat or the speedboat or whatever, the small little boat carrying 11 different people. He says, oh, it was Admiral Bradley's fault. But don't worry, I got your back, bro, is what he says. What a coward. He says, let's make one thing crystal clear. Admiral Mitch Bradely is an American hero, a true professional, and has my 100% support. I stand by him and the combat decisions he has made on the September 2nd mission and all others since. America is fortunate to have such men protecting us. When the Department of War says we have the back of our warriors, we mean it, as he's literally throwing him under the bus. No one was talking about this being Admiral Bradley's fault. Everyone was saying it was Pete Hegseth's fault. So the fact he comes out and says, Admiral Bradley's great, I have his back 100%, I support him, he did it. He did it. Just such a coward. I mean, this guy, this is Admiral Bradley right here. Pete Hegseth has, I just can't imagine that people in the military actually respect him anymore. After his debacle where he went and gave them a speech calling them all fat, none of them clapping, you know, he does an all hands on deck meeting, calling them all back to Virginia for a meeting, everyone thinking they're declaring war, something really big. And instead he sits there and fat shames the generals and the admirals. And none of them clap. In fact, I believe we have the video of that, if you remember.
So the president is sending a message to other cartels.
This one right here.
Move out and draw fire. Because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
Room! Attention!
Silence, no clapping, nobody cared. Right now, the deep state is trying to steal your retirement. A staggering 63% of Americans face the terrifying prospect of being forced back to work because the system is rigged against them. So what's the alternative? Well, the smart money is securing their assets in crypto, but the elites want you to think it's too risky. Enter Block Trust IRA, a revolutionary America First solution. Their Animus AI trading system is a financial weapon, spotting market patterns with precision no globalist banker can match. Since 2020, it's outperformed Bitcoin by over 250%. With IRA tax advantages and $200 million in insurance coverage, you get more than an investment. You get financial freedom. So don't just survive the corrupt economy, thrive and fight back. Go to blocktrustkim.com right now and book a free consultation and pick up a free $2,500 funding bonus to use right away. Your financial freedom is worth defending. Again, it is blocktrustkim.com. Take control of your future securely. Thank you for calling us all to this, and thanks for that, calling us from all around the world just to fat shame us. So I can't imagine that any of them are really liking Pete Hegseth. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all watching Full Metal Jacket right now and just dreaming about all the things that they wish they could do. Not saying that I'm calling for violence. I am not calling for violence. I'm just saying they're probably, I'm just saying what they're probably thinking and wishing they could do. But at the cabinet meeting, Trump had his 9th cabinet meeting today. At the cabinet meeting, this is what Hegseth had to say about the killing, the murder of the two survivors on that boat. This is what he says.
Watch that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic because of what politicians and the press does to warfighters. President Trump has empowered commanders to do what is necessary, which is dark and difficult things in the dead of night on behalf of the American people. We support them, and we will stop the poisoning of the American people.
And Mr. Secretary, on the second strike, you said it happened more than an hour after the first. Did I hear it correctly?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of time.
Minutes, or you went off the room, is what you're saying.
I already stated my answer quickly.
Okay. First of all, he says, "Oh, you guys just sit in your air-conditioned rooms and you don't know anything about war." When the strike was commanded by whether it be Pete Hegseth or Admiral Bradely, they were sitting in a operations room in the United States, an air-conditioned operations room in the United States, where they then command the slaughter of people that we are not actually at war with. And that's an important distinction. They're claiming, the Trump administration is trying to claim that we're at war with these narco-terrorists who have never fired at the U.S. military. There's not an armed conflict between us and these narco-terrorists. Now, you might say, well, but they're poisoning Americans. They're bringing the drugs in. Americans are willingly taking those drugs. That is not, they're just shoving cocaine and fentanyl up the noses of Americans, and they're doing it aggressively and violently. They're going around neighborhood to neighborhood, and they're shoving fentanyl into the mouths of children. That is not happening. People are choosing, Americans are choosing with their own free will to do the drugs. Now, I understand it's a lot more complicated than that. Drugs are very addictive. There's issues, things that can be cut into the drugs that are extremely dangerous. The person doesn't realize they're taking a certain drug. There's a whole host of issues there. But the reality is that this war that we're supposedly at with these narco-terrorists is not a war at all. It is law enforcement. We're supposed to be enforcing laws. We're supposed to be protecting our own borders, ensuring that drugs aren't coming in. These boats that are coming in from Venezuela, for one, they'd have to refuel 20 times before they even make it to the U.S. shores. They had 11 people on board, which means not many drugs. There's no evidence. This whole thing is just such a sham. And they're trying to say, it's because we're stopping the war on drugs. Meanwhile, Trump is pardoning a drug lord who was convicted in a U.S. court, given 45 years in prison for working with El Chapo on bringing drugs into the United States. We're pardoning that guy, and yet in the same sentence trying to claim that there's a war on drugs and we're stopping these narco-terrorists. So there is no war going on. But even if there was a war going on, you still are not legally allowed to kill survivors. This is against the Geneva Convention, Article 3, which states very clearly, in the case of armed conflict, not of an international character occurring in the territory of one of the high contracting parties, each party to the conflict shall be bound to apply as a minimum the following provisions. Persons taking no active part in the hostilities, including members of armed forces who have laid down their arms and those placed hors de combat by sickness, wounds, detention, or any other cause, shall in all circumstances be treated humanely without any adverse distinction founded on race, color, religion, or faith, sex, birth, or wealth, or any other similar criteria. To this end, the following acts are and shall remain prohibited at any time and in any place whatsoever with respect to the above-mentioned persons: violence to life and person, in particular murder of all kinds, mutilation, cruel treatment, and torture, taking of hostages, outrages upon personal dignity, in particular humiliating and degrading treatment, the passing of sentences and carrying out of executions without previous judgment pronounced by a regularly constitutioned court, founding all the judicial guarantees which are recognized as indispensable by civilized peoples. Basically, without all the legalese, this is the minimum floor of humanity, the absolute baseline rules that apply even in civil wars, internal armed conflicts, counterterrorism operations. It binds state militaries, rebels, militias, paramilitaries, everybody. And Common Article 3 prohibits at all times violence to life and person, which is murder, mutilation, cruel treatment, or torture, taking hostages, outrages upon personal dignity, so humiliating them, passing sentences or carrying out executions. The wounded and sick must be collected and cared for, including enemy combatants. Humane treatment without discrimination. You have to do that. So even if someone is a formal POW, you cannot kill them once they are hors de combat, which is out of the fight, including shipwreck survivors, people surrendering, or those unconscious or detained. So killing shipwrecked survivors clinging to debris is explicitly a war crime under this article, very clearly. But of course, our country doesn't really care. Do we even adhere to the Geneva Conventions? I'm sure the next thing we're going to know, it's a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. Those Geneva Conventions, Democrat hoax. So Hegseth, though, he's responding to the fact that he did, in fact, know. He said after the strike happened September 2nd, he went on the news and bragged about being there and watching it get blown up, and then saying very strongly, you're not going to be doing this in our country anymore. You're not going to be bringing drugs into our country, when less than 5% of drugs into the United States are coming from Venezuela. It is laughably small, and it's not even fentanyl. It's not even the stuff that's killing Americans. Hardly any drugs are coming from Venezuela. Do you know where they are coming from? They're coming from the Pacific. They're not coming in from the Gulf. They're coming in through the Pacific, and they're coming in through allied U.S. nations. Mostly they're coming in through Mexico. So they're coming in through everywhere except Venezuela, and yet this is what Hegseth had to say about it at the time. This is what he said.
So the president is sending a message to other cartels, right?
A very clear one. I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not true. Tren de Aragua is a very dangerous gang. We definitely do not want them in the United States. We would prefer that they stay wherever they are. And we'd actually also prefer that their countries handle them and not us, not it be our responsibility. How about we just seal our borders and ensure they don't come in? How about just making sure we don't get Tren de Aragua? And maybe what would help with that is not trying to oust Maduro, because every single expert that has talked about what will happen if we oust Maduro, if we topple Maduro, if we do any sort of regime change in Venezuela, every single expert, including those who are very fiercely against Maduro, say it would cause chaos. There are too many rival gangs in Venezuela. They've got too much power. They have too much money. They would start fighting. It would be an absolute disaster in Venezuela. And guess what disaster creates? Oh, that's right. Refugees, migrants, they would be flooding into our country. They'd be flooding out our border. Now, you could sit there and say, oh, well, then that's got to be, what Mexico needs to take them, or Honduras needs to take them, or wherever you think needs to take them. What did your mother teach you? Did your mother teach you that you could make the mess and somebody else should clean it up for you? Did your mom teach you that? I'm going to ask her. Pretty sure she didn't. Pretty sure. Maybe if you're a spoiled, rotten brat. But otherwise, no, you have to clean up your own mess. And if we, the United States, is the one that ends up toppling Maduro, we are responsible for absorbing all of those migrants. So if you don't want the migrants, don't topple their government. Don't destabilize their homes. It's really simple. Same thing, they're Afghanistan. They talk about, oh, well, look at this Afghan guy, and he's all upset saying he should have joined the Taliban, and he murders people, goes on a shooting rampage and kills people, and it's horrible, and we just don't want these people in our country. Okay. If you don't want Afghanis in the country, maybe we shouldn't have waged a 20-year war in Afghanistan. You don't want Iraqis in the country? Maybe we shouldn't have waged a war in Iraq. You don't want Hamas in this country? You don't want Palestinians in this country? All right, maybe we shouldn't be helping, aiding, and abetting Israel in clearing out the land of all the Palestinians and then telling them, sorry, you can't come here after we just expelled you. No, that's just, things have to make logical sense. At least they should. But they, of course, often don't. People don't think. Here is Senator Mark Kelly. He is blasting Hegseth, basically saying he should have been fired a long time ago, not just after this.
He runs around on a stage like he's a 12-year-old playing Army. And it is ridiculous. It is embarrassing. And I can't imagine what our allies think of looking at that guy in this job, one of the most important jobs in our country. In my view, after the President of the United States, it is the next most important job. He is in the National Command Authority for Nuclear Weapons. And last night, he's putting out on the internet turtles with rocket-propelled grenades. Have you seen this? This is the Secretary of Defense. This is not a serious person. He should have been fired after Signalgate.
Yeah.
And then every single day after that.
Yeah. Yeah, he should have. On Signal, telling people about war plans on Signal when it should have been stuff talked about in skiffs or stuff talked about highly classified information. And Pete Hegseth is just a child running around, calling all the admirals and the generals into a room just to fat shame him, doing Signalgate, now this, throwing the admiral under the bus. That is the opposite of the buck stops here. That is the opposite of taking actual leadership, a leadership position. That is the opposite of being a leader, is instead saying, it wasn't me, it was the admiral. But by the way, I totally support him. You're gonna let him go, you're gonna fire him. Oh, that's too bad. But I think he was in the right. I support him. I mean, just absolutely insanity stuff going on here. I want to show you, this is Admiral Alvin Halsey, and he actually resigned in October, said that he was resigning from the armed forces at the end of this year because he did not agree with Hegseth and the strikes that were going on in the Caribbean. He opposed those strikes and did the right thing and actually resigned. And now many others some Democrat politicians have come out and made a video saying you can defy these orders. And Trump is now saying that he wants them to be basically prosecuted for this message.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly. Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk. This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard,
and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution, and who we are as Americans. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Okay, in response to this video, this is what Trump had to say. He says, this is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up. President Donald J. Trump. This is from the President of the United States saying that these former military members are seditious and they should be locked up. He also then retweeted this, hang them, George Washington would, and also tweets this out, seditious behavior, punishable by death. What the hell is wrong with this administration? This is not what people voted for when they were voting for Donald Trump. This is not what they wanted. And he's gone rogue because he knows this is his last term. He doesn't need to be elected again. He's never going to be running in an election again. And he's gone completely rogue. That's what it looks like. He has lost the support of his base. He has lost support. Only the very, very fringe 20% are still in support of him and his behavior, and in support of Hegseth and what he's doing, and in support of people wearing masks in the middle of the night, law enforcement wearing masks in the middle of the night, and kidnapping people to El Salvador. This is the type of stuff of really what's happening is Donald Trump is behaving in the exact way that Democrats said he would when he won in 2016, and then he didn't, and they all look like lunatics, and they look like they were wrong, and they had Trump derangement syndrome, and they did. But then you see what he's doing now and you think, but did they? I mean, maybe they were right because now he's proving them right. Now he's behaving exactly the way they said he was going to behave. He didn't before, but now he is. I mean, it's just appalling that he thinks that this is okay behavior. But the truth is, these people that are saying, look, you can refuse illegal orders, they're right. You can refuse illegal orders. You could say, I am not going to be doing this. And that is exactly what Admiral Halsey did when he resigned from the armed forces, saying, yeah, you know what? I don't agree with what you guys are doing. I'm out of here. And that is what an honorable person does. They resign. They say, this isn't for me anymore. I'm not going to kill people when you can't prove that they're narco-terrorists. They're, for one, not waging war against us. We're not in armed conflict against them. You don't have any evidence that these people are narco-terrorists. You don't know who else might be on that boat. You might have somebody else entirely, other people entirely on that boat who have nothing to do with narco-terrorism at all. But you're happy to kill them. You're trigger happy. You think it's okay. This is the demise of a functioning civilization. This is the beginning of the end. This is what happens. It's when leadership go rogue. They think there's no laws that pertain to them. They can get away with war crimes. They can get away with heinous acts. And the people stand by and watch appalled. And history books will not be on our side. When they write about America, they will not be writing positive, happy things about the American empire. Instead, we'll be viewed as Darth Vader, essentially. Once good, turn bad. That is who we are. Unless we put a stop to it, unless we actually hold our leadership accountable. But certainly Donald Trump isn't. He is instead saying that these other people are traitors. They're not the ones who murdered two people who are hanging on to a shipwreck, but they're the ones who should be facing criminal charges. That's where we're at today with this. Absolutely shameful. Totally and completely shameful. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. It is free for you to watch. Again, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, KimIversonShow.com. See you there.